Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, My Life in Scrubs. I'm Stacy. I'm a registered nurse. I have been in healthcare for 28 years, and I'm just sharing stories about my nursing journey, insights, tips maybe at some point, and if I can help one person, then my job was done. I was thinking when I was talking about stuff about memory care. When I was a newer nurse, I remember I used to dread going into the memory care because back when I started in nursing, and things have changed a lot since I became a nurse. We used to orient people to reality when they had the early stages of memory loss. And I think I carried that in my brain somewhere, that I needed to orient people to reality. But as time went on, and I worked in a memory care, I worked in a really amazing memory care in Wisconsin, and they had a training course as part of our orientation that was like an interactive experience where you experienced being a person with a memory deficit. And they also had people who talked about memory deficits and what that looked like and how to cope with those situations that you just really, there's nothing you can do about it. When I was younger, working in the memory care was hard because people would hit you, they would scratch you, they would spit on you, they wouldn't take their medicines, and they were always trying to get out the door. They were always trying to get out the door, okay? Everybody wanted to go home. And I can't blame them. I'd want to go home too. I don't want to live in a nursing facility. As many years as I've worked in one, I don't want to live in one. But sometimes, that's necessary. Sometimes it gets to a place where a family really just isn't capable of managing those memory deficits at home. And it is safer for a patient to be in a facility. It really is. But as time went on, and as I was a nurse for longer, and I went through this, I think going through this memory care orientation at this company in Wisconsin was critical to the turning point in my career where, as a nurse, I did not dread going into a memory care. And I worked in an assisted living during COVID in a memory care. And that was hard in and of itself because in an assisted living, there is some training involved in the people that come in and give your parents care and your family members care. There is training involved in lifting, turning, repositioning, toileting, and those things, but it's not as extensive as, say, a person who is in a nursing home that is getting care from a CNA who went through a course to learn how to do all that stuff. Because in an assisted living, a person is supposed to really just be needing assistance. But the fact of the matter is, people are sometimes staying in assisted livings through the end of their journey. And so they are really needing total care. And the problem with COVID was that we locked everybody out. We couldn't have families coming in and potentially bringing COVID into the facility and spreading it to all the patients. It was horrible. It was horrible when we locked those doors and we had to close everything out. And it made our memory care patients really dependent upon us for the cares that their family members were providing. And it made me appreciate families a lot more too. When families are present, the patient just does better. When there's a family coming in routinely to do things for the patient, you don't realize everything that they're doing for the patient sometimes. Sometimes people have a negative attitude about families coming in, but I think during COVID that I really understood how important families are to those memory care patients. Maybe they don't know that that's their daughter or their son or their husband or wife, but they know that face and they come to look for that face and they're dependent on that interaction. I did see a lot of people in memory care during COVID pass alone without their family, just with us as their person. And there was many of those experiences during COVID. But in memory care, I learned some really interesting things. They were using red straws for the patients because it made them want to take a drink. from it. They had more success at getting people to drink out of red straws. I don't remember the science behind that, but it works. Additionally, something that I had to learn, and it took me many years to learn. I was in my 30s and up into my 40s when I started working in memory care. And one of the things that I guess I just didn't have in my memory bank is they don't always understand what sit down means anymore. You know, you're telling them to sit down, and you're grabbing at them, and they don't understand sit down anymore. They've lost the ability to remember those words and remember those actions. There's a lot of muscle memory that seems to be present in memory care patients, but I think it helped me to understand that the things that they were doing, they weren't doing to you. It wasn't purposeful, it wasn't intentional, and they didn't have control over the things that were happening to them. The hard thing about memory care is that the patient realizes that there's a deficit. They realize that there's something they can't remember. They realize that there's something they need to say that they can't say. And it frustrates them. It frustrates them because they can't find the words, they can't find the idea, they can't find the action that they want to do. And I think I watched a lot of young people work with memory care, and I remember my time in memory care, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Memory care patients and people with memory deficits will match your energy. They will match your energy. So if you come at them hyper and anxious and frustrated, they are going to come back at you with the same energy that you give to them. You have to be calm, you have to be patient. And I've seen a lot of people that just really have a knack for working with people with memory deficits, and I have such great respect for that, and I'm really thankful for the time that I spent in memory care, because it really helped me to have a deeper understanding of what's happening with my patients who have memory deficits, and also how to approach them. You know, as a nurse, we're sometimes in a hurry to get that med pass done. We want to give the medications. We want to get done with our med pass because maybe we need to use the bathroom. We haven't used the bathroom in 6 hours, or maybe we haven't had a bite of food in, you know, our entire shift, and we just want to get through this med pass so that we can sit down. You know, when you're taking care of a larger number of people, there's a lot of things that you have to do. And in this particular setting, I wasn't always responsible to pass the medications, but I was responsible to supervise all of the units in the building at night. And sometimes if a med passer didn't come, I was responsible to pass the medications, which I prefer to do anyway, because honestly, I don't mind passing medications. I've been doing it my whole career. But in instances where you are passing medications, you really have a desire to get through that quickly. And unfortunately, you're not always going to get through it quickly. And you just have to accept things as they come in memory care, because, you know, some people are not going to take their medicine the first time you try. And sometimes they're not going to take it from you. Sometimes when you have a memory care patient that you're dealing with, they're not going to take that pill from you no matter what you do, because they don't like you, and you're not the person they want to see today. So sometimes you do have to find somebody else to do it for you, and that's not always easy, because the other people have responsibilities too. So, you know, in memory care, you just have to accept that things are not going to go the way that you think they're going to go. You're not going to come in and necessarily pass your meds and get done at a certain time. But some days you might. Some days are going to go beautifully, and you should be thankful for those days, because there's going to be days whenever Mama wants to get out the door 100 times. I had an incident where I'm probably not even going to tell this story right, because it's happened so long ago, but I was thinking about it before I saw it in a memory of something that I had written for myself. I had some patients standing at the door together, and the memory unit is locked, so they kind of huddle at the door sometimes, waiting for someone to open the door. And the door it's alarmed and it's coded. You can't just open the door in the memory care. I mean, you can, but there's a trick to it. But I had this group of patients that would sit by the door regularly waiting to get out, and one was waiting every night for her father to come. And one gentleman said to me, "How much money is it going to take for you to open this door?" And I said, I can't open that door for any amount of money. I will get in so much trouble if I open the door. And they're like, "Come on, what's it going to take? How much money to open the door?" And I just had to laugh and walk away because what can you say? I know they want to get out. I don't blame them. And another instance, I had a patient who waited for her father every day. I'm waiting for my dad to come. And in order to get her to do things, I never said to her, "Hey, your dad's dead. How old are you?" How old are you? You're 80. Your dad's dead. You can't say that to your patients. It really doesn't, it's not helpful. It's counterproductive to tell their patient that what they're thinking and feeling isn't accurate. So a lot of times I would say, "Well, I haven't seen him yet, but when I do, well, I'll come and let you know. How about you come and eat some food while you're waiting?" So you really have to be creative when you're dealing with people with memory care, because in memory care with memory deficits, there's so many different causes that are causing this memory loss. There's many different disease processes that cause dementia and cause memory deficits. And each person's dementia and deficit is going to respond differently and have a different characteristic. But the one thing that's true is that you're living in their world. What they see is, you can't convince them that this is not true, and so I did learn that it's really counterproductive to try to orientate a person with memory deficits that far gone back to reality. Some of our memory deficit people just really needed to carry their baby around, and they really believed they were carrying their baby, and to not have their baby would cause them distress. So it was very important that you made sure they had their baby to carry and hold. I hope I'm that woman that's carrying her baby around, shushing it if I ever, lose my memory, because I've had patients that are just peaceful and sweet and carrying their baby around, rocking it. And then I've had the patients who accuse me of taking their husband. And you can't convince them that you weren't the backstabbing tramp that took their husband from them. And so sometimes you can't be the nurse that day for that patient. You're just gonna have to give it up because you done stole her husband, and that's a fact. You are not going to convince her that you didn't steal her husband. When you come back tomorrow, you're probably gonna be just fine, and you're gonna be honey, sweetie, darling. So you just have to take memory care as it comes, and don't let it work you up when it doesn't go your way. Memory care, the thing I loved about working in memory care was participating in the activities with the residents, because they got to dance, we got to, the important thing was doing activities with people in memory care and keeping them, active and keeping them engaged. And one of the things that happened during COVID, our activity workers were just amazing. They would come and put oldies on and do dances with them, and I love to get involved and dance with my patients. I loved to have those moments where I could participate in the activity with the patient. And in memory care, you had those moments where everybody was engaged in the activity and you could participate with them. And I think that was the beautiful thing about working in memory care. I worked in units where they had sensory rooms where the patient could just go. And, in memory cares, it's a concept where they can kind of just, people with memory deficits wander. They wander, and they can't sit still. Some of them just burn their energy, and you're giving them finger foods just to get their calories in, because they're not going to sit down at the table and eat. It's like toddlers, sometimes when your child is a toddler, you're going to have to give them finger foods to get their calories in. It's the same way with some of those people with memory deficits. They're walking the laps all day, and burning those calories, and you have to give them finger foods to get those calories in. And I think, I don't know if I would have had the same experience at a different time. Working in the memory care in COVID made us really dependent on our coworkers and made us really work together as a team to protect our patients, because it was a different time. It was a different experience. And I'm really thankful for the people that I worked with in that setting. And I really got to utilize the training that I received in that orientation because, surprisingly enough, families buffer a lot of things that you don't realize that they do when they come to visit. And I am really grateful for families that participate with their loved ones and visit them. It's just so important. It's so important to participate with your family members who have memory deficits. And it's so important as a nurse or a CNA or volunteer or activities person that you understand that you're entering into their world in memory care, and that they are not personally trying to attack you, even if they are personally attacking you, because maybe they don't know who the heck you are. You know, they think you're someone else. So they're not attacking Stacy. Maybe they're attacking Gertrude, who stole their husband 50 years ago, and maybe I look like Gertrude today. Or, you know, maybe they're looking for their child. Some people with memory deficits are, you know, they're living in a different time, and when their children come, it's so hard for the children when their mom and dad don't recognize them anymore, or it's hard for husbands and wives when their partner doesn't recognize them anymore, and they're looking for their children. And they don't believe you're their child. They don't believe you're their spouse. They don't believe that you're their family member at all, because that is not the way they remember that you looked. And so on top of it being challenging for people who work in a memory care unit, it's really challenging for families who are dealing with memory care. And I think that that's really a big part of being a caregiver, is understanding that you're not just giving care to the patient. There's always another aspect of things. There's always a family member. And, you know, as nurses, CNAs, activities, social workers, chaplains, everything, every aspect of the disciplines that take care of people with memory care are not just giving care to the patient, we are giving care to the families as well. And that is true in long-term care anywhere. Part of being a healthcare worker is also giving care to the family members. And I wouldn't want to work in a memory care every day now. It can be very hard to work in that environment every day and deal with the emotions that are in that environment every day. But I would say that if you like working in that environment and that's for you, I appreciate and respect you immensely, because it's not easy. It takes a great deal of patience and love and care to take care of somebody who doesn't know where they are from minute to minute. And it takes a lot of patience to work with families who are losing their parent one piece at a time, or spouses that are losing their partner one memory at a time. You know, you imagine if you wake up one day and your spouse doesn't know who you are. I've personally experienced how memory loss can affect you from a family standpoint, when your grandmother doesn't remember which grandchild you are anymore. And so I've been on both sides of the bed. I've been the family and I've been the nurse. And I think the biggest thing is, in working with memory care, you just have to be patient, and you have to be calm, and you have to be kind, and you have to understand that things aren't going to go the way that you plan. They're never going to go the way that you plan. Did you work in a memory care? Do you have experiences that you would like to share? Any tips or tricks that you think would be helpful for other people working in a memory care? If you do, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I thank you for coming to my channel and watching, and I hope you come back. And if you do come back, please consider liking, subscribing, and following, and I hope to see you soon.